Welcome to part 2 of this crochet bunny with overalls tutorial. If you haven't already watched part 1, then make sure to go do that, but otherwise let's get straight into the video. So now that we've made the legs, body and ears, we are going to move on to the head. So you're going to grab your white yarn as well as your crochet hook, and we're going to begin by doing 6 single crochets into our magic ring. So once again, I'll do the 2 chain method. And then do 6 single crochets into that first chain. Now for round 2, we will do 6 increases, which will take us up to 12 stitches. So go ahead and increase into every stitch. For the following round, we will do single crochet increase times by 6, and this will take us up to 18 stitches in total. So in the next round, we will be crocheting the ears on. So you're going to grab your 2 ears that you made in part 1 of this video, and we're just going to tuck the tail inside for each ear. And we're going to grab our first ear here. So as our hook is still on here, we are going to put our hook through the top 2 stitches of the ear. So these top 2 stitches that are across from each other. So we'll stick our hook into one side of the ear from the outside and then bring it straight through to the stitch on the opposite side. So right now our hook is through 2 stitches opposite to each other at the very top of the ear. Then we are also going to put our hook into the next stitch of the head. So we've got our hook through 3 stitches at once, 2 of the ear and 1 of the head, and then we'll just single crochet. Now we're going to put our hook through the next 2 stitches opposite each other in the ear. So just like this. So once again, just find these top 2 stitches over here and just put your hook through in the ear. And then into the next stitch of the head and single crochet. Then finally, put our hook into the next 2 stitches of the ear at the end of the top of the ear, and then the next stitch of the head and single crochet. So we've just crocheted our first ear on. Now we are going to do an increase into the next stitch of the head. So increase, then a single crochet into the next stitch of the head, and then another increase into the next stitch of the head. And then we'll grab our second ear. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we just did. So we are going to put our hook into the top 2 stitches of the ear that are across from each other, just like that. We've just put our hook into 2 stitches opposite each other in the ear. And then at the same time, we'll put our hook into the next stitch of the head, and then single crochet through all 3. Then into the next 2 stitches at the top of the ear, and the next stitch of the head, and single crochet, and then into the final 2 top stitches of the ear, just like that, and the next stitch of the head and single crochet. So now you've crocheted both ears onto the top of the head. Now we are going to do an increase, then a single crochet, and then an increase, and then 2 single crochets and an increase times by 2. So this is just on the head, so don't worry about the ears for this part. Now for the next round, we'll just be going around as usual. So you can see all of the stitches to go into just as normal. Don't worry about the ears anymore. And we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase times by 6. And this will take us up to 30 stitches in total. So just around the outside of the circle. Now for the following round, we'll do 4 single crochets and an increase times by 6, and this will take us up to 36 stitches in total. Now we'll be single crocheting for the next 3 rounds. So from round 7 to 9, we'll just be single crocheting all the way round. Now, after you've single crocheted for 3 rounds, we're going to continue on to the next round, which is 4 single crochets and a decrease times by 6, and this will take us down to 30 stitches. Now for the following round, we'll do 3 single crochets and a decrease times by 6, and this will take us down to 24 stitches. Then for the next round, we'll do 2 single crochets and a decrease times by 6, and this will take us down to 18 stitches. Now we're going to put our safety eyes in. So if we have a look at our bunny head right now, you can see that on the back side, the ears are much closer together. So we need to put our eyes on the opposite side to that, which is where we currently have finished off at the moment. So just going to grab our safety eyes. So we're going to put our safety eyes in between rounds 10 and 11, and we're going to want to make sure they're equal distance from the ear on either side, and they're going to be around 9 stitches apart. So we're just going to clip these in, and once these are clipped in, we will continue on to the last round. So for the last round, we'll do single crochet decrease times by 6, and this will take us down to 12 stitches. And now this is what your bunny head will look like. So we're just going to leave a bit of a tail for sewing this onto the body. And just cut it off about there. And then we can pull through using our crochet hook. Now we are going to add stuffing to the head. And this is what your bunny head looks like right now. Now before we sew this onto the body, we are going to embroider a nose. So if you have a clip-on nose, then that is fine. It will go between rounds 10 and 11, but I would like to embroider my nose, and I'm going to be doing it with thinner pink yarn, but you can use black or brown yarn and it'll be the same. And you don't have to use thin yarn either. So we're just going to get this pink yarn onto my yarn needle. And we're just going to bring it in from the top here. But first we want to find the center point. So I reckon the center point is going to be about here. So we're going to be sewing the nose over these 2 stitches here. So I'm just going to bring it down to this point. And I've just made a little line across 2 stitches here. So we're embroidering a little T shape, but the top line of the T, the horizontal line, we're gonna go over it quite a few times. So I'm just gonna go back over that line again. And again. And again. And once we're happy with how that looks, we just want to bring our yarn needle down to below, but in between, so in the center of these 2 stitches, but about a round and a half below to do the other half of the T. And then we will just bring it up in a line like this, just to underneath here. So we're just going to bring it to underneath the center here, and then bring it back up to the original point. So this is the second line of the T, just like that. And if you're happy how that looks, you can cut off the remaining yarn. So we're just going to leave a little bit of a tail of each. And then we'll just tie these two pieces of yarn together. Cut off the remainders and then poke the rest inside the bunny's head with our yarn needle. Just like that. So now the bunny's head is complete because we have embroidered the nose, and we're going to be sewing that onto the body. So we're going to grab our body, which is right here, and each of the head and the body have 12 stitches left. So we're going to grab our yarn needle and put the tail from the head into our yarn needle. Then I'm just going to stick a knitting needle. This is up to you, but I just like to do this to keep it in line. And I'm just going to stick a knitting needle through the top of the bunny's head and then just stick it into the body and down through the bottom of the body. This is just so I can keep the front of the head in line with the front of the body, and we'll remove it later. First of all, we just want to go into the stitch of the body that lines up with this part of the head. So we'll just go into the top round and just put our needle across 2 stitches and then pull. And then we will go into the next 2 stitches of the head and go across 2 stitches and pull. So we're going to go into 2 stitches of the body, then 2 stitches of the head, and then repeat that pattern all the way round pretty much. And make sure that the front of the head is always lined up with the front of the body. So once you're happy with how the head is sewn on, you can just bring the tail to a random point in the body. And then you can just cut the remainder off. And this is what your bunny currently looks like. So what we need to do now is make the overalls. So we're going to put our bunny aside for the moment, and we are going to grab the color that we want our overalls to be. So I want my overalls to be light blue. So we're going to grab our colored yarn and our crochet hook. So if you want your overalls to be removable, then you're going to want to leave a little bit of longer tail every time that you have a tail so that you can weave it into the overalls. I'm going to not have my overalls be removable. So I'm going to also leave a slightly longer tail so that I can sew the tails into the body. So we're going to start off by making a slip knot, mine with a slightly longer tail. Then you're going to chain 18 times. So go ahead and chain 18 times. Now once you've chained 18 times, we're going to sort of make a little circle out of this chain. So you need to make sure that when you sort of fold this chain into a circle, that you don't twist the chain in any way. So we're just going to bring this side of the chain directly over to this side. And we're going to be single crocheting back into the first chain. So you want to make sure that when you single crochet back into this first chain that you made, that there are no twists in the circle that you've created. So go ahead and single crochet into that first chain that you made. And then you're going to look at your circle and make sure that it does not twist in any way. So mine stays the same all the way around. So we're all good. And now you're just going to single crochet all the way round the chain until you get back to where you are right now. So I've just single crocheted into the 17th chain. So you can see that we've formed a little circle. Now I'm going to slip stitch here where this tail is coming out of. So you can see that there's this little crossover here. So I'm just going to be slip stitching into the first one that's like an actual stitch that has the tail coming out of it. So just put your hook in there. And I'll just slip stitch in. That's just so it's properly connected at the end. So now you have your first overall leg, and I will just leave a bit of a tail so that I can sew it in later. And then we can pull through to finish off. And this is your first overall leg complete. So we need to make another overall leg, but on the second one, we will not finish off. But I'm going to do it again with you. So once again, we'll do a slip knot and we're going to chain 18 times. Now we will bring the first chain back over, making sure that it's not twisted, and single crochet back into that first chain. And then we will single crochet back to the 17th chain that we did. So all the way around the circle, making sure it doesn't get twisted. So once you've done your second overall leg, we'll grab our first one once again. And you want to make sure the right way is facing outwards, so as usual. And what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet into and around the first overall leg we made from the second leg. So we're going to find this part where the two tails are sort of right next to each other. And we're going to put our hook into this stitch here, the one next to the tail, the one after the one we slip stitched into. So this one right here, we'll just put our hook in there. We're just going to single crochet into that from the second leg. So you see they're already a bit connected. Now we're going to single crochet all the way around this first leg that we made. So it'll be 16 more single crochets around this leg. And then once you've single crocheted into that last stitch on the first leg, we're then going to single crochet into the next stitch on the second leg that hasn't had anything crocheted into it yet. So that would be this one right here. We're just going to put our hook into that one and we'll single crochet. So now these overall legs are properly connected in the center. And then we'll just single crochet all the way round the second leg, so 16 more times. So now you've completed the first 3 rounds of the overall legs. The tails are a bit annoying and they're kind of getting in the way, but that's fine. We'll just sew them in later on. Now we are just going to single crochet all the way round. So just like it's kind of an oval shape, just single crochet all the way back around. Also at this point, if there are any holes in between the legs, then you might just want to use a tail to sew these holes up, which is what I'm going to do right now. Now for the following round, we'll do 7 single crochets, then a decrease, then 8 single crochets, then 2 decreases, then 7 single crochets and a decrease, and then 4 single crochets and a decrease. And this will take us down to 31 stitches in total. Then for the following round, we'll do 2 single crochets and a decrease, then 10 single crochets and a decrease, then 5 single crochets and a decrease, and 6 single crochets and a decrease. You also might want to try putting your overall legs onto your bunny right now just to double check that it fits. If it doesn't, then you may need to adjust your tension, or you can make adjustments to the pattern itself. Because if you're using smaller yarn or slightly bigger yarn, then it will obviously impact the size of the overalls in comparison to the bunny. And now for the final round, we will just single crochet all the way round. So I've just finished the last round, and I'm just going to slip stitch into my last stitch to finish off. And then we can just leave a small tail. I'm actually just gonna weave these 3 tails at the bottom in as well, just to get them out of the way. So I'll just flip this inside out just so it's easier to weave in. Okay, so I've just weaved those 3 tails in because they were getting in the way. And now that they're properly weaved in, I'm going to put these shorts on the bunny, and where we slip stitched will be at the back. So this is what he looks like right now with his shorts. And now we're going to grab our blue yarn once again, so we can do the front of the overalls. So we will leave a bit of a tail for our slip knot once again. And now we're going to go into the front 5 stitches of the shorts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the front 5. And we're just going to put our hook into the first one over here. So just put our hook just like that. And then we are going to single crochet into that stitch. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 4 stitches as well. So 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then we will chain 1. So chain 1, and then turn this bunny around, and we're going to go back into those 5 stitches, and we're going to single crochet into each of those stitches. 3, 5, and then we turn back around to the front, and I want to do one more of that. So we're going to chain 1 once again, and then single crochet across the top of these 5 stitches again. And then we will just see how that looks. So just have a good look at the front of your bunny and see if you're happy with that. And now we are going to chain 14 for where we are now as the first overall strap. So we're going to chain 14 times. Then we'll bring it over the bunny's shoulder, and we're going to bring it to the back of the bunny. So the overalls are going to cross over as an X. So this overall strap is coming from this side, so we need to slip stitch into down here, so it's the first part of the X. So you're just going to choose a stitch on the left side over here. We're just going to slip stitch into that stitch that you choose. And then you can leave a bit of a tail and pull through to finish off on that overall strap. Then we'll flip the bunny back over. And as you can see, we just have one more overall strap to go. So we will do a slip knot with a long tail. And then we're going to slip stitch into this stitch, so the other corner of the top of the overalls. And we'll just slip stitch into there. And then we are going to chain 14. And we'll bring that over to the back. And then we will just slip stitch into a stitch on the right side of the back of the bunny to make that X. So we will slip stitch about here. And then we will leave a bit of a tail and cut it off. So now the only thing we have left to do for the overalls is to put the tails, sew the tails into the bunny. So we're going to work with our 2 tails at the back first, and we're just going to bring them to the same point on the bunny. So I'm just going to put my tail into the bunny and then just bring it over to a different part of the bunny. So I'm going to bring it over here, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this tail that's also at the back of the bunny. If you want your overalls to be removable, then you will just have to weave the tails in, but I prefer my overalls to not be removable. And then we're just going to tie these 2 tails together once they're in the same spot. Cut off the remainders. And then poke it inside. So that's the back of the bunny done. Then the front. So we've got 2 tails, both coming out on one side. So we'll grab our first tail, and we're just going to bring it into the bunny. And over to the other side of the bunny. And we will do the same thing with this tail and bring it to the same point. And then we will just tie these 2 tails together. Then we just tuck these 2 tails inside. And this is the completed bunny. This tutorial has been requested so many times, so I'm glad that I finally did it. And I tried to make it as low sew as possible for you guys. So really the only thing that you have to sew on is the head to the body, and then some embroidering is optional. The written pattern for this bunny will be available on my website, which will be linked in the description. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!